You lived it. You remember when you were me. Like I told you from the beginning, I am the future Flash.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Flash Reading Order. So this is now episode 11. We're here today. We're going to finish off the rest of the New 52 run. Before we get to the next main writer, we're going to finish off with Brian Buccellato, who decided to do some filler story in between the transition of writers. This is Flash Volume 5 History Lessons. Yes, so one thing is that, unfortunately, at the time of this recording, the omnibus that is coming out that will collect all this stuff, as well as the next writer, Robert Venditti, all of his stuff, will be collected in one omni. Unfortunately, that's not coming out until April at this time, so we're going to have to work with the trades for now. Got a bit of a cameo here with Dead Man. Also, this trade does also collect the annual I talked about in the last episode with him meeting Green Lantern for the first time. So we're just going to skip over that. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, now we can actually start the first actual story here. I mean, this is actually a one-shot by Christos Gage. It's basically a one-shot story that deals with Barry trying to take down this one criminal who actually murdered one of his old teachers, so he's looking to get revenge. It's kind of a similar story to the No Way Die story that deals again with, Flash can run fast, but he can't exactly fly, and what does he have to do against a villain who has a plane or that can fly? So it's very similar to No Way Dies. Not nearly as good though, but it's still a pretty good, quick, fun story. Now we get to the major crux of this. So this is kind of a filler arc, like I said, that's in between some of the writers. This deals with the history of some of the stuff with Keystone and Central City, the Gem Cities, dealing way back in the 1800s. With this, with these guys, Sutter, as well as the Marshal, the Great Digger, who apparently was a big urban myth for Central City. And we'll see him a bit later on, but right now here we got Flash taking down Tarbit as well as Krona. Last I checked, it was Rainbow Raider, but for some reason here he's called Krona. I don't remember why they changed his name, but whatever. But one thing I gotta say that's cool about the story I do like is that it kind of reminds me a lot of a lot of crime shows, like CSI and all that stuff, which again, one of the other reasons I love Barry so much is that we get a lot of those type of stories, like crime scene investigation stuff. And this story does lead to a little more about some of the stuff going on with Barry finding out about certain things about like his mother's death, which will play a bigger part later on in the run. But one of the things that is going on is that while he is in this investigation, one of the things that does happen, that does come out, is Daryl Fry, the guy who basically raised him after his mother died and his father went to jail. He found out that Nora and Daryl were having an affair, and Barry doesn't take that so well. And while all this is going on, the ghost of Sutter comes back and wants revenge on Fletcher, the two guys at the beginning of the story. And this ghost tries to actually possess Barry. But then another ghost actually tries to save him, which is Dead Man. And this is probably a cool image I love, where you actually get to see Barry use his vibration to basically perform his own exorcism, which is pretty fucking cool. Pretty freaking cool. But yeah, this story does play kind of a key part here because, like I said, it does lead into stuff that's going to happen in the next run. Specifically, kind of teases some stuff like this. It actually ends here, where Daryl and Henry, Barry's dad, are talking and say, like, we could never tell him who really killed Nora. And see the little lightning bolt in the window there. So yeah, that's just this short trade. And we're going to move on to the next, and we're going to move on to the main run. Alright, so this is volume 6 at a time, and this starts the Robert Venditti run. Yes, Robert Venditti is our new writer in this run. As well as art by Brett Booth, and Brett Booth's art is awesome. It's really cool. One of the reasons I do love this run is for the art. The writing, we'll talk about that. It's a bit of a hit and miss. Let's just say this run, there's a good first half and then not so great second half. But let's talk about the good first half first. So we start out here 5 years from now, so we jump a little bit into the future. Where Daryl's telling Barry that he was too late, that he couldn't save this one kid. This one kid, we're not really sure who this is yet. But one of the things that is going on is this is after Forever Evil, so Central City is dealing with the fallout of that, trying to clean up the city. Flash is helping out with that as well. A lot of the criminals are dealing with that, and one of the unfortunate things that happened is when all the villains ran amok, a lot of the weapons and evidence from the weapons locker was stolen at CCPD by this one criminal who is now using all these weapons, and it's up to CCPD to figure out who is the person that's doing this. And we also get this cool little fun sequence I like that deals with Barry going to therapy, because he is trying to now eventually get back to the main crime lab department, getting out of the basement where he was sentenced to after coming back from the Speed Force and all that. But it is a requirement that he has to take some therapy. And it's really cool that in between his session he keeps hearing all these incidents of trouble. So literally as the therapist is talking, he'll just be like, oh, let me go do this real quick, and boom, 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 and then come right back. It's pretty fun, cool sequence. And in case you're wondering, yeah, this is where Barry and the rest of the Justice League were. They were trapped within Firestorm's fire matrix, which is something that the crime syndicate basically sent them all into. So that's where Barry was, where Forever Evil was going on. But the results of Forever Evil got Justice League back, and everyone's all back, including Flash. But we also see this. 20 years from now, it's Barry in a blue suit? What's this about? Well, we do find out one answer. We find out the name of that child who the Flash saw dead on the street. I promise, Wally, I won't ever be late again. Yes, this is the New 52 introduction of Wally West. And here he is. That's Wally. I will explain later at the end of the episode, but for now, just go with it. This is Wally West. But also, more importantly, something else that's going on too is Barry started to notice that he's having some of these glitches with the Speed Force. Like particularly, like there's one part where he goes to like grab something really quick, just be like, oh, quick second, let me grab something, boom, and then he comes back and like Patty's like, oh my god, where were you? And Barry's like, what are you talking about? She's like, you've been gone for like 10 minutes. I'm like, 10 minutes? I was only gone for like a second. Patty at this point knows about him being the Flash and knows about all that. But yeah, so there is some kind of glitch going on with the Speed Force where Barry is losing time. Like, the more he uses his speed, the more time that he misses. So when he thinks like he'll be at a certain point, it's like way later than it actually is. Like, sometimes he'll miss 5 minutes, sometimes he'll miss 10 minutes, sometimes he might miss an hour. And this was going on for all these years leading into the future. And because of this glitch of the Speed Force, this is what leads into Wally's death, which now the Barry in this future of this timeline wants to repair. And that's what he's going to do. So in between, we go back in the present with Barry figuring out stuff about the mashup killer, as they're calling him, the one who took all the weapons. Meanwhile, though, in the future, we're seeing the future Barry, or as I kind of like to call him, Superior Barry, because I kind of like it as a playoff of like the Superior Spider-Man book, which was going out at the time. You'll see more of why I call him that later on. But yeah, he ends up taking down Grodd. He even says, like, you want to fight to the death? You got it. One of us ends today. So like I said, it's a pretty cool story that like jumps back and forth between like the future and the present. And it's eventually going to lead to like these two collide with each other, which is pretty cool. Like I said, it's a really cool story. And I love the art by Brett Booth. But meanwhile, what is going on in the present is that Iris does introduce Barry to Wally. They do kind of have a rough start in the beginning where Wally's making these anti-Flash graffiti signs because he's upset that the Flash took his uncle Daniel West, aka the Reverse Flash from the last episode that we talked about, sent him to jail. So he's upset with the Flash for that. So Wally and Barry are trying to get along. Iris basically, because Wally doesn't have a father figure, Daniel's in jail, she kind of wants Barry to be kind of like a good role model for Wally and try to get them to like get along, almost like a big brother, big father kind of way. So it's basically Iris trying to force the two of them to get together. And Barry's like doing what he can while Wally's just like no, I don't want nothing to do with you. Meanwhile, in the future, we get this fight with Flash, with Future Flash and Mirror Master. In probably one of the coolest and gruelest scenes, where Future Flash is able to take down Mirror Master and has all these shards go down on him and kill him. Because yes, that's what he's doing. What this Future Barry is doing, he's now just decided, you know what? I screwed up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair everything. I need all the energy I can, and I'm going to kill all these rogues. Yeah, Barry, 20 years from now, not exactly the fun-loving superhero, good moral guy that we all know and love. And I gotta say, too, I love this costume. I love this, like, blue costume. That's why I used the intro that I did, as you'll see in the beginning of the episode, because I thought it was kind of a nice reference to it. Another thing I should note, too, is that even though Barry is spending all this time with Iris and Wally, he is still together with Patty, and let's just say Patty's not exactly too thrilled about him spending a lot of time with Iris West. And we get this nice moment here where they both go to a baseball game and they finally start to get along after seeing a home run. Iris is happy. And we get this sick moment here where Future Flash kills Trickster. He keeps going closer and closer in the timeline. Like, he's going to different time periods to get different energy. And as he's moving along to where he wants to go, a.k.a. the present, he's just killing all of these rogues and making up for past mistakes. But meanwhile, the present storyline, we do figure out that the mashup killer is actually one of the cops from CCPD, Seaboard. Seaboard is the killer. Yeah, according to Barry, he says he has to be the mashup killer, Patty. He arrested all the victims years ago. He knew about the weapons in their evidence room and how to break them out. His fingerprints were at every crime scene where those stolen weapons had been used. So it's actually interesting about this too is a lot of the weapons that this guy is using, it's not like the typical weapons you would think of, like Captain Cold's gun or the boomerangs. Actually, one thing it's funny, there's no Captain Boomerang in the New 52. He'll come back later on, but yeah, he's not in this era. But yeah, it's actually weapons from like newer rogues that we never actually really get to see, which I think is kind of cool, kind of interesting. And this is Seaboard. He almost ends up taking down the Flash with this like whip weapon. Only for Flash to be able to come back and take him down. And it's a pretty sick moment where Daniel West gets they take Wally to visit Daniel, and basically Daniel gives him the good talk and be like, "Don't be like me, don't make the same mistakes, blah 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 blah, like be a good kid." And then once Wally and Iris leave, Barry confronts him, and Barry basically just says, "Nice performance, Daniel." And Daniel's like, "Yeah, it's all crap. It's all blah 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 blah. It's all bullshit. Like, I am gonna eventually get out of jail." And Daniel will get out of jail because, where are we, 6 years from now, 6 years from the current time, this is the moment where we get to this moment with, at the beginning of the book where Wally dies. And the person responsible for it is Daniel and Barry. And they have a big fight. One thing that's interesting, too, they actually changed his design. I guess they wanted to go with more of the classic Reverse Flash look, and they gave him yellow instead of red. I like it, but personally, I think the red matches up better with the black, and I feel like they're kind of doing like their own thing. That's kind of like, hey, you didn't really need to do that. And we'll see later on what they do with actual Reverse Flash later. God help us. So yeah, so we do get to this big moment where Future Barry is now going to confront Daniel West, and it all leads up to this issue, Future's End. So, remember when I talked about the last episode that DC was always doing these, like, themed months or these themed events? This is the next one. This is Future's End. And what I thought was cool, and again, I noticed what was mostly cool about this whole run in New 52 is that a lot of the Flash writers, like Manipul, Venditti, they kind of use these events to their advantage and didn't just make, like, useless tie-ins. Like, no, we're going to make this part of our arc. So I thought it was pretty cool that they used the tie-in for that. And then this is the big moment here where Barry believes he decides, you know what? We're going to do it again. It's 1983 again, and we're going to snap Reverse Flash's neck again. I get to be the hero. But of course, once Iris and Wally see this, they are horrified, and rightly so. And this is the current time of where they are, which leads straight into Barry showing up and meeting his future self. And the two of them confront each other, and this is like the final thing that Reverse Flash, that Future Flash wants to do. Yeah, so this is still 6 years from now. 5 years from now, excuse me. This is 5 years from the current present. And this is the Flash from the future traveling to meet the Flash of this time currently. This is where the Flash that came in that was too late for the beginning of the book. I know, it's a lot of crazy time travel shenanigans that happens in Flash. But then, during this fight, though, there is a moment where Barry and Future Barry get into this brawl. Barry is able to figure out that he's able to use feedback on the Future Barry's costume. But also, one thing that happens is we find out that there is a rupture in the Speed Force, and that's what's going on. That's what's causing all the time misses that Barry has. But during this moment, though, Barry basically does sacrifice himself in this future, and Wally's hit by lightning. And in this timeline, Wally promises to avenge Barry. I will, Barry. I swear, no matter what that twisted version of you is after, he'll pay for what he did. And now Future Barry is in our current present timeline, so now this is the present. And he says, it's time to end this, while we see another speedster running to this timeline, aka Wally. So Future Barry takes our present Barry over and shows him. So this is what's going on. This is the big rupture in the Speed Force. The Speed Force was torn open by the explosion that day. And you all tore it wire every time you went through time. You, Daniel, Grodd, reality itself is bleeding out. You failed as the steward of the power, Barry. You let this happen. Yeah, that was the, was that the explosion for the, no, I don't remember what the explosion was. There was something that happened earlier in the book that caused an explosion. That's what caused the rupture. But anyway. Here is Future Wally coming to take down Future Barry. How many times have I said future in this episode? But one of the things that does happen is Future Barry is trying to take all the Speed Force and energy from our Barry, and Future Wally is able to stop that and basically gives Barry the rest of his Speed Force so that he can live, and the Wally from this future ends up dying. Which very greatly upsets the Future Barry as well, because the whole reason Future Barry wanted to do this was to save Wally, and now Wally is dead because of his actions. But one of the things that does happen is there is another big explosion with the Speed Force, and the rupture is fixed. The Speed Force rupture is fixed. That's the good news. The bad news is that Future Barry is now in our present timeline. Our Barry is now stuck in the past. This is Volume 7, Savage World. So basically, Barry's now stuck in the way past of the dinosaur age, or at least that's what we think at first. Meanwhile, though, the Future Barry, after the Speed Force rupture healed, he somehow de-aged to be the exact age as our Barry, and he decides, you know what? That Barry's gone. I'm here. I'm going to make out with Patty, and I'm going to live his life. Superior Flash. That's why I've always called this story Superior Flash, because it reminds me a lot of when Doc Ock took over Spider-Man's body. Not the same consequence, but kind of the same thing, because as you'll see, Future Barry does kind of damage to the Flash's name and Barry's name for a bit. Meanwhile, while this is going on, our current Barry is, he's actually inside the Speed Force, but he's in the Savage Speed Force. He's in a whole other part of it, where he deals with all these newer people that he meets. Including this one character. I'll try and remember his name at the moment. I'll get to it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Sorry, I'll go a bit all over the place. Selkirk, that's his name. Yeah, so Selkirk takes Barry in with all these other people who are trying to escape the Speed Force, and once they see Barry and they specifically see the lightning symbol, they realize, oh, this could be the guy that can help us out. Meanwhile, though, Future Barry is living in his life and having a great time with Patty, even though he is acting a bit out of character, acting a bit more ruthless. Not exactly our moral hero like he normally is. Journal William Selleck, that's his name. He discovered these ruins years ago, and he specifically sees the Flash symbol. So he believes him and Barry are connected. Meanwhile, back in the present, Future Barry's taking down Mirror Master as well as this new villain, this younger villain. And he decides to take him out in a way more ruthless way than our Barry would. Which Iris sees, and Iris is horrified by it. Like, Barry was actually flat out about to kill this villain. Villain then is stopped by Iris, and he runs off. Dave, I'm at the bank. No, forget the Rose. The story here is the Flash. He's a killer. Yeah, Iris still doesn't know that it's Barry. She believes the Flash is the killer. But Patty starts to suspect Barry and certain things that's going on. Because one other thing is, they are investigating the murder of this one kid who ends up getting killed. You actually see that he's actually killed by Future Barry. Patty and Iris meeting up a bit. And we do find out that, of course, like, Barry can never trust some of these guys in the Speed Force because, of course, they want to use him as basically a sacrifice so they could get home and screw the Flash. Can never trust these people, Barry. Overload, that's the character's name. And this character, more or less, is almost kind of like a victim in a way, because he could like recharge energy and make all these like explosions with like technology. The problem is, though, too, is that he constantly hears all of technology around him, so he constantly keeps hearing these like buzzing noise, and it's driving him insane. And I guess in the future, in future Barry's future, Overload does do something terrible, so he's trying to stop him by trying to kill him. Eventually, though, Patty does talk to future Barry, and sees the error of his ways and decides, alright, there's another way I can do this. And he's able to like take down this satellite, and is able to cure Overload. You took the pain away. You made it stop. Thank you. I thought you wanted to kill me. I'm not that man anymore. Patty, of course, is still like, well, yeah, you still tried to murder him, though, so screw you, Barry. But meanwhile, here's the real Barry. And while they're about to fight, here comes Selkirk, and he's ready to take down. He's got some Speed Force power, so those two Barrys decide to work together to take him down. Which leads to future Barry actually giving his life to end up taking down Selkirk, as well as like restoring everything and getting Barry back. And so basically the Speed Force is now ruptured, everything's fine, Barry's back to the normal timeline. However, though, before the future Barry goes, he does say, Barry, you have to remember. And Barry goes, just save your energy. You don't need to say anything. No, there's one other thing, something you need to know. I never caught Mom's killer, but I found a clue. Fawn. And from that, Selkirk is back in the Savage Speed Force. He gets greeted by another person. Professor Zoom will teach you. And this is going to lead into the next arc. So this is Volume 8, Zoom. This is the new 52 version of the Reverse Flash. This is now the actual Reverse Flash, not Daniel West. This is their version of Fawn. I do not like this version. I do not like this story. We're going to get through this as quickly as possible. But the first thing I want to say and kind of complain about this story is DC at the time was starting a new initiative called DCU. I still consider it part of the New 52. But a lot of things that was going on around that time where people were getting different costumes. Batman was Jim Gordon at the time. Superman was depowered, so he just had a t-shirt look. So Flash had to get a new costume. I do not like this costume at all. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like some of the yellow lightning around it. I especially hate the yellow eyes. I feel like it makes it look evil. And I don't like the red on the back of the symbol, because I understand why they did that, because this was around the time when the first season of the show was coming out, and that version had the red behind the symbol. But the problem is that by the time these books came out, the show was on season 2, where the emblem was the normal white emblem, making this completely useless synergy. So to get more into the story, Barry starts seeing visions of this other Reverse Flash, this yellow Reverse Flash. He's called Zoom in this story, so I'm just going to call him Zoom. And one moment here that happens is he does talk to his dad about hearing about the Fawn name, which his dad freaks out about and tells him, like, stay away, don't investigate it. And he decides, you know what, I have to go into action. So Henry Allen and a bunch of criminals, including Grinner, they end up making a prison breakout because he wants to try to stop Fawn himself. Yeah, this story is weird. I really don't like it. And like I said, I don't like this version of Fawn. And they're going to fix it in the next run, but we're just going to deal with it for now. But more or less, just to basically sum it up quick, this version of Fawn basically tells Henry the night that, like, he killed his mother, that you will say nothing, it is you that killed her, which I don't like at all, because the original version of Fawn had nothing to do with that. That was just the consequences that his father was the one person that was there, therefore he's the main suspect. Like, we didn't need all that. Like, I don't like the idea that Henry is aware of Fawn before Barry's even the Flash. Like, yeah, this story makes some weird choices. I like Robert Venditti as a writer, but this is not one of my favorite runs. And then also this happens at one point. Zoom has these acolytes, as he calls them, and he recruits all these different people from different timelines to help him out. Of course, the thing that he ends up doing, though, is that he uses these people where he makes these people go for these people, like, including the Folded Man, the new version of the Top, a couple of these new characters. They have all these incidents happen to them, and Fawn is like, come with me, and I'll save you, and I'll help you out. So this whole annual covers how these acolytes get formed together. You find out at the end of the story that Fawn manipulates all this stuff, which is very classic Fawn. That's probably the closest classic Fawn we get to this, is that he manipulates things to get things to happen his way to get these people to go with him. So we find out more about, like, Barry and Henry and what exactly is the deal here. Also, one interesting thing that is kind of cool, because another thing that happens is that at the end of the last story, Patty gets a little freaked out by the whole future Barry stuff. Like, she basically can't escape seeing that version of Barry when she sees our Barry now, so they break up. She leaves, so Barry's out of the apartment, and he's got a new roommate, which is Hartley, aka Pied Piper. Also, this is pretty cool too. While he's having a new future in mechanics after Barry introduces him to one of the mechanics at the police department, and he gets into making different new engines and motors. So really cool. And I like this too, that he's in this, like, go-kart, and like the suit kind of looks like the suit that we would have saw in that other future. Yeah, this is Zoom with some of his acolytes, as he calls them. Like I said, I'm really just brushing through this story because I'm not really a big fan. I mean, maybe you'll like it, who knows, but one of the other big things that happens is there's a big force field that is generated. That's generated in the police department, and it's linked through Flash's powers. It's basically a big Speed Force bomb. It's a bomb that the acolyte set up, that is set off and sparked off by Flash's speed. Like you'll see here, he's running, and that's the spark that does it. And it's like this big slowing bomb / force field, and this pisses the hell out of Daryl off, and this is consequences that we'll see in the final story in this run. But one of the cool things that happens is when they're trying to figure out how to get out of this field, Wally ends up figuring out by driving it with the motor that he created, with the engine he created, and he's able to like make a hole and heat it up, and able to use that hole. And Barry grabs Wally. Again, there's the full costume. Not really a fan. I love that line. It matters. You see me drive that truck like a boss? Yeah, this is when Daryl loses his shit. We have to go. Damn it! I'm in command here. Keep disobeying my order, and I'll arrest you for your endangerment. There are too many lives at risk, and if you run, you'll detonate the... No time to argue. You'll be safe here outside the dome. Bomb? Flash! Arrgh! Also, this is a nice moment with Hartley and David, because David was still kind of nervous about his whole relationship with Hartley. Not because Hartley's a criminal, but because... well, no, yeah, that is the reason. Because not because of them being gay, but because he is a criminal and that he's like a member of the police force, and he didn't think that was going to work out. Anyway, yeah, they get together. So, also another thing too is Zoom ends up kidnapping Henry because he wants him to build this device for him. Like I said, this story's not great. Also, we find out that, okay, the big thing with this version of Zoom is that he's like this weird hybrid of both fawn and hunter, where he's named Eobard Fawn, he's from the future, but his backstory is basically that of Hunter's, where his father was a serial killer, mother killed her, mother killed him, and because of that, he believes that because he didn't have a perfect family, but Flash did, that's what makes him decide to go back in time and kill the Flash's mother. So basically, it's like, oh, well, you're so great, Flash. Well, how do you feel now that now you have my same backstory? It's very dumb. It's nowhere near as good as the actual origin. Like I said, Fawn will be fixed in the next episode, but this is the version we gotta deal with. I'm sorry if I'm talking all over the place, too. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of this story, guys. I'm sorry I'm not in my usual chippy self, but... yeah, I mean, I will say, though, at least the art by Brett Booth is great. And I do like this final fight between them. But again, it's still like... And I do like this one scene with Barry being like, Eobard Fawn, you're under arrest. Alright, but we got one more story that we gotta go through. Well, two more. We got one more story in this run, and we got one bonus story. Okay, so this is going to be another quickie. This is Volume 9, full stop. So this is the last part of Robert Venditti's run. And what basically happened here is, so because of all the stuff that happened with that Speed Force bomb, Daryl basically now thinks that the Flash is completely dangerous, wants him out of the city, and he decides the best way to do that is to deputize the rogues. Daryl, why? You can see now why the first half of this run I like, the second half just goes off a cliff. But yeah, this is basically Barry having to deal with all that while he's learning his new powers. Because he got the powers now. This time, the way Wally got the powers was when he ran to the truck with that Speed Force bomb. We do find out in this story, though, that another villain is like manipulating some of the scenes and making Flash look worse than he actually is. including one of the things that he did is he actually ends up kidnapping Heatwave to use him as a nuclear bomb. Yeah, I forgot to mention in Rogue's Rebellion, in Rogue's Rebellion, Heatwave at the end of the story basically sacrificed himself so the Rogues could get away, and he ends up, like, just to give a hint of who this villain is, when that sacrifice happened and where the Rogues were, they were in Gotham. So that's a hint. Trickster's working with this villain. Yeah, like I said, this story is okay. But I will say one of the things that is kind of cool about it that makes up for it is the villain, we find out who's manipulating everything and making all these drones that originally these drones Daryl was going to use to, like, track Flash and, like, take him down. We find out these drones are in control by another person who uses these drones now to take control of the city. The Riddler. The best Batman villain. Why is he in a Flash book? Because why not? I do love this cover, though, where you see Riddler with the suit. That's pretty cool. Like I said, I was excited for this at the time because, again, I love Riddler. I'm like, Riddler in a Flash book? This is great. And the story itself is okay. Yeah, because one of the things that he does do is Riddler basically, he has all these drones that are, like, set the fire on, like, all the people in, like, Barry's life, so Barry basically can't do anything, so he basically just has to stand there and take a beating from Riddler. Mind over muscle. But eventually things are solved while he's able to help out a bit. Also, a cool thing that happens in this story is we actually get Lisa back. Lisa's able, they use this, they find this device that they're able to use to get Lisa back to complete normalcy. So now she could be the Golden Glider without having to, basically she can now be the Golden Glider and be astral projection while being alive and not in, like, a coma. So she doesn't have to be, like, in a coma to make the projection happen. She can just do it with her own body now. So we get that. Heatwave gets rescued. And the story kind of just ends like that. It's just like Piper gets to help out as well. The Rogues help up take down Riddler because the Riddler turns on them as well. And yeah, it just ends with Barry running. Oh, one thing to note too that I think is cool is that I guess they agree with me in that costume because in this arc he's back to his normal New 52 costume, which is great. But it just ends where this is literally how it ends. Where he talks to Daryl. Daryl says, I was wrong. I put the whole damn city in danger. I hope we can work together again. And Barry goes, soon enough, but first, I just want to go for a run. And that's the end of Robert Venditti's run. Like I said, guys, I know I was a little quick on here. I was talking maybe a little faster than I normally do and trying to, like, speed through some of this. But like I said, some of this stuff is good, but it could be better. I mean, like I said, the first half I really do enjoy. I highly recommend the first half. The second half, though, I feel like you could skip and you could just go right to the next volume. But before we go into the next volume and before we go into the next writer, which is probably going to cover the next couple of episodes because we got a little run with him. But before we do that, I want to talk about one other book, or specifically one initiative with DC. So I think it's kind of appropriate that we started the New 52 with Justice League. Let's end it with the New 52 Justice League. Specifically why I got this omnibus, because it has a special story that leads into the next era of DC Comics. I'm going to talk over here while I get the dust cover out of here and just do a little spine stretching. Okay, man. So anyway, as you can tell, the New 52 was mixed by some people. I mean, like I said, I love it because it got me started on comics, but there were some things about it that were not great, like, for example, what they did with Fawn. And there was some other stuff, some other things that happened where certain characters weren't together, like Green Arrow, Black Canary, or even Superman and Lois Lane. A lot of stuff was, like, changed. A lot of stuff that we all love about DC Universe was changed, and DC finally decided to listen to the fans and said, you know what, we hear you, we're going to go back to that stuff, and we're going to consider this a rebirth. Sorry, let me just get to it. Okay, here we go. So this is the one-shot known as DC Rebirth. Why are we talking about this in The Flash? Because we find out in this story, which, by the way, is written by Jeff Johns. Yes, this will probably be Jeff Johns' last appearance in this series. But he does do something special, something that was missing in the New 52 that he brings back. Batman gets struck by this lightning. And we see the original Wally West. Yes, the original Wally West is back. So the Wally West that we've been talking about in this episode was going to be a different version of him. This was going to be a new take on Wally, and fans were not having it. It's like they made him black for some reason, which, again, not being racist, nothing wrong with that, but this is Wally West. This is the character we all know and love. So this is their way of bringing Wally back. And the way that they do it is the old classic Flash excuse. During the New 52, during those 5 years, he was stuck in the Speed Force. But more importantly, I'll get to one of the other things that happens, is no one remembers who Wally is. Or at least this version of Wally. This goes into his whole history, everything we talked about here. But one of the things that he does say is heroes that were legends became novices. Bonds between them were weakened and erased. Legacies were destroyed. A darkness from somewhere has affected us. It has for a long time now. I think even before the Flashpoint. And no one knows this but me. So basically what Wally's saying is the New 52, while it was a publishing initiative in the actual DC Universe, it was created by someone else. This is what I kind of alluded to earlier in a couple episodes ago, where it wasn't fully Barry's fault of the change of Flashpoint. It was someone else. So throughout this book, we get to see some things change, and not going to go too much into it, but yeah, specifically, yeah, like I said, Green Arrow and Black Canary were not together at all in New 52. This is now their way of finding their way back. I'm just sticking with the Flash-specific stuff. But what Wally is doing is that Wally is trying to go to all these different people to try to, like, get out of the Speed Force, to, like, get a spark. Basically for someone to remember him. He even tries going to Linda. Linda has no idea who he is. And we also get this great retcon by Jeff Johns. The other Wally West. My father, Rudy West, had a sister. Rudy West had a sister and a brother, Aunt Iris and Uncle Daniel. I was as close to Iris as I was far from Daniel. My Uncle Daniel, who had a child, a cousin I never met. We were both named after our great-grandfather, Wallace West. So yes, now he retconned it so that both Wallys can exist. Because we're not just going to get rid of this character. So now we have Wally West, and we have what he's going to be called later on Wallace West. But this is the big moment we get and why I want to talk about this episode specifically. And I should note that omnibus that's coming out of the Robert Venditti stuff will collect this. So this is important. Wally finally does meet up with Barry. Barry's the last resort, the last hope he tries to see if maybe he can try to get him out. But he does feel like his time is passing. Barry, you don't know who I am. And you won't remember, so this is hello and goodbye. Before I say anything else, you need to go to Batman. Ask him about the letter from his father. Tell him that there's something wrong with history. Someone has affected it, and you forgot all things. Like me. Barry, who are you? There's no more time. I'm out of time. This is it. Barry, thank you for an amazing life. As Wally starts to fade away. Thank you for your memories, for your inspiration, for being there for me so many times. For now. The last time. I don't understand. I hope one day you will. You were right, Barry. Every second was a gift. Remember that line. That's going to be important in the next run. That's why I won't die in anguish. I'll go with love in my heart. Goodbye, Barry. Goodbye. And Barry has this moment where he just sees, and then it clicks. Wally? And grabs his arm and pulls him out of the Speed Force. I'm back? You said my name. You brought me back. I'm sorry, Wally. I'm so sorry. My God. How could I ever forget you? I was crying when I read this, and I'm almost going to cry now, and I'm sorry, but this is one of the coolest moments ever, and this to me brings together the Flashdom. This to me shows it doesn't matter who's better, Wally or Barry. It's both of them. Both of them are the Flash, and we love both of them. We may have our preferences, but at the end of the day, these two guys, they are the legacy of the Flash, along with Jay and Bart and everyone else. And why I love this character so much. But anyway, what it alludes to is that Barry says, are you sure this wasn't my fault? It wasn't, Barry. It was something else. Someone else. I mean, I'm not going to get too much into this because it doesn't deal fully with the Flash. This deals more with DC, but this basically hints, and we find out if you read the book Doomsday Clock, that Dr. Manhattan is the one that caused the New 52. And also, specifically, he caused Wally West to disappear. However, he didn't make people forget Wally. That was someone else. And we're going to find out who that was in the next episode. But until then, I just want to say again, guys, I've been loving doing this series. Also, I just want to send a special shout out to Kevin, who's been doing the time to edit all these videos. He's been doing a fantastic job, and without him, these videos wouldn't be possible. So, just want to give a big thank you to Kevin. And I just want to say again, hope you guys have been enjoying this, and like and subscribe. And we'll see you for the next couple episodes where we talk about Joshua Williamson and DC Rebirth, as well as what Wally's doing in this area. So, we'll see you guys then.